Driven from their homes by armed invaders, a few hardy refugees faced the prospect of starting again. They would found a new village deep in the countryside. With a new settlement established, the first priority was locating a reliable food source. The simplest source was gathering from nature.
Apple.
With a healthy supply of food, the village could start to grow. To do so, it would need more hands to share the work.
Abundante.
Waiter.
Yeah. Yaru. The wearer. Huh?
The new workforce could now turn to the growing village's needs. First, they would build a mill near their food source, so villagers could drop off gathered berries more easily.
Where can?
Cheerless. Work on. Each willer. Yaru. Gadriende. Quetta.
Next, the growing village would need wood to build with.
Huende. Yeah. Meta. Yes, Samiende.
Yeah.
Hirash.
Yeah, that. Can't wait. Yes, Sammy Enday.
The growing community now had a steady supply of lumber. To make wood collection easier, villagers could erect a lumber camp near the forest.
Would do. Work Kendi. Hastings. Work Kendi.
Thanks to the camp, villagers no longer needed to travel as far to drop off lumber. The village now required additional houses to support its growing population.
Puerta. Gonganda. Work camp. Here worked. Workende. 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 Workende.
With additional housing in place, even more villagers could join the workforce. But a populous village would soon exhaust the natural food sources. To grow, the community needed dedicated farms.
Huh? Better.
Here worked.
Workende. Workende. Here the worker. Hey off cylinder. Workende. Hey off cylinder.
Woodsmen and farmers now kept the village well supplied. Further growth required knowing the countryside and finding more resources. For that, communities employed scouts. Able to move quickly and see great distances, scouts were key to discovering new resources. The most important thing for a scout to locate was a ready source of gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Ridende. Asterende. Yes, sir. Yeah, herende. Yes, sir. Yeah. Ridera. Asterende. Ridende. Ridera. Gande. Yes, sir. Kothlich. Yes, sir.
Forward. Ridende. Gande. Asteriende.
Forward.
To prevent having to haul ore large distances, expanding communities would establish a mining camp near the source of gold.
Yaru.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Work camp.
Hessa. Yeherende.
Ridera. Asterende. Kothlich.
Yaru. Kuthlich. Yes, sir. Ridra. Yeah. Hessa. Yeah.
A well-placed camp ensured efficient gold mining.
Helsa. Yeah. Gande.
Forward. Yes. Yes.
Yaru. Yes. Yeah, herende. Yes.
Hessa. Asteriende. Gande.
Huh?
Yeah. E ottelenda.
Yaru. Forward.
With a good supply of gold, the village was becoming a large town. The signpost of this growth would be the construction of a large landmark.
Work Henday. Quetta. Worka. Ridera.
With the landmark in place, the once sleepy village announced itself as a thriving feudal township. The townsfolk had been driven from their homes before, however. This time, they would defend themselves. The first step would be constructing a barracks for infantry.
Yaru to work. Each timber theos. And your worker. Each a worker. Forra, parende no.
What, Hessa?
What surface, eh?
Once it had a barracks, the town could establish a standing force of soldiers. Simple infantrymen armed with spears were a common choice for these militias.
Garwiga.
Yes, sir. West Tuhara.
Yes, sir.
Garway. Garwigan.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Ritnu. Garway.
What surface, eh? Go get there, Akerham.
Garwigan. Garwigan. Garway.
The town now had a militia and could look to reclaim the lands lost to invasion. The invaders had blocked the road north with a stout palisade. Although spears were of little use against these walls, the militia could burn down the obstacle with torches.
Forgat Firas. Garwigan Asetta.
Ridera Yaru, Ridende ut.
Garu Upa.
Understrelum! Forget Firas!
Yarway.
On your work, eh?
Garwigan!
Yes!
With the road open, the militia could now reclaim their lands in the north.
Astirath Garwigan.
First,
Mid-May.
the spearmen had to deal with a lone sentry.
Kumat Omna. Garu Farath.
On Fundestrelum!
Remas Garu. Garu Farath.
Yes, sir.
Kumat Omna.
Here sends the shield pendant!
Hurra! Each will. Hurra! Garwigan Asetta. Yirwa Garwigan. Yirwa.
Agnavo! Each Livia!
Garu.
Garwigan!
Ferdman. Mid-May. Trimas Garu Upa.
Understrelum! Yes, sir!
Each will. Don. Extended.
Feotan! Feotan!
Rick Lu.
On Fundestrelum!
Yirwa Garwigan.
Advancing aggressively, the militia eliminated the enemy sentry.
Aknawa.
The invaders had a small cavalry camp guarding the road, but the militia was ready to attack.
Garu Upa. Hurra. Each will. Yes, sir. Garu Astigath.
Here sends the shield pendant!
Remas Garu
highly effective against cavalry, allowing the militia to win the day. All that remained was to destroy the invaders' stables.
Tremen, Garu.
Yes, sir. West through Hala.
Garuigan!
The invaders' cavalry post was destroyed, but other enemy positions awaited further up the road. Hostile archers defended the next camp, which would put spearmen at a disadvantage. The township needed cavalry of its own to deal with this, and so would need to build stables. To deploy that cavalry quickly, the town needed to build their stables near the front lines. Fortunately, friendly villagers came out of hiding and joined the effort.
Yarwe, hurra! Yerwa, yes, eh? Garwigan, Astirath, Garwigan.
Yarwe Iawara.
We're siendo shootenet! Each timbra theos!
Cheerless here. Each a worker. Ikke om je selly. Cheerless for friendly Heston.
Where is they?
Each timbra theos.
With stables in place, the town could field horsemen of its own.
What third faith, eh? Sona. That Shule Veo Timbra. We're Kende on Eckerham. And you work, eh? That Shule Veo Timbran.
Yes, sir. Where's the Hala?
Yaru to work.
Bayod May.
Each Timbra Theos. Yes, sir. West Duhala. Each a worker.
What third faith, eh?
Ayored Yaru.
Each timbra theos.
Cheerless here.
Then Hester.
That Shule Veo Timbran. Yes, sir.
Ayored Yaru.
Ikeom Yaselli. What third faith, eh? What third faith, eh?
Yaru.
Each Timbra Theos. Vera Huerta.
Bayod May. Then Hester. Ayored Yaru. Hester. Yeah. Yaru. Bayard May. Hester.
The town now had a rapid light cavalry, skilled at harassing slower targets, such as archers.
Each your willa. Ritanu.
Eliminated the enemy archers and moved on to destroying the archery range itself. The invaders' archers and their camp were destroyed. A final enemy emplacement remained, one fortified with palisades and defended by spearmen. To deal with this target, the town would need longbowmen. First, they needed to build archery ranges in the area regained from the invaders. Once more, friendly villagers arrived to help.
Yarwa Iowala. Yeah, Ichiwela. That Shula Beo Timran. Yes, sir. Each a worker. Each timber of Theos.
Fair dawn. Each brewke that. Ike on your celly.
With several archery ranges in place, the town could add longbowmen to its forces. strong force of archers could eliminate enemy spearmen at a distance, so long as they took the proper position.
Let us Oscan! Astiga on way! Yes, sir. Wernia, Ichiera. Ferreth, Eowegan. Yes, sir. Leteth Uskan. Ichafoli.
Yeah. Flamboga Arod. Haragongath on way.
Era. Ichawilla.
Abuga Strelbora. Verith. Onstiria Strelbora.
Era. Wernia.
Poised on a cliff top, the longbowmen would be protected from an infantry charge.
You sadly Athopa. You're ready, Shell.
Rima Garu.
Bliss Ritano.
The last of the invaders fell to the resurgent homegrown population. Now that their lands were free of enemies, the town could take the next step in its growth and become a powerful medieval city.
Astigeth on way.
Here, too, the erection of a great landmark would be the signpost of this growth.
Ichiera.
What's our faith, eh?
Chairless hair! And you work, eh? Eat your worker!
Yes, sir. What's Suhala? That's Shule Bayo Timbran.
Yaro to work!
Each bouquet that.
Was shooting then? Eat your worker. You run that way! Yes, sir. What's the holler?
What, sir, say? Yes, sir. Understood.
And your worker. That's shoulder bale timber.
Yaru to work.
Icheum Yiseli.
That's Shule Bayo Timbran.
Yes, sir. What's the holler? You work it. What's their faith, eh?
Where a few lowly refugees had founded a small village, now rose a mighty city. From there would grow an empire.
Disconnected. Please note daily disconnected. Play page. Server connection failed. Close button. Main menu. Play tab. Single player page. Back button. Close the notifications toggle. Notification home button. Play page. Go to single player page. Start campaign button. Checked. Start button. Campaign tab. Item 1 of 3.
Some events leave a deep mark on history, but none on the land. This is the site of the Battle of Hastings. After almost 1,000 years, no traces of the bloody conflict can be seen. But here, the fate of England turned. It's where a king was killed, and his victor claimed the throne. October 14th, 1066. We know what happened here on this day, thanks to this. The Bayeux Tapestry. A carefully preserved, illustrated record of events. It shows the main players. Harold, the newly crowned Anglo-Saxon King of England, and his challenger, William, Duke of Normandy. William claimed the previous king had promised him the crown. So, he assembled an army and prepared to sail to England to fight King Harold for the throne. But a storm thwarted his plans. Meanwhile, Harold discovered that a Viking invasion had landed in the north. Another threat to his crown. So he raced to fight them. In France, William waited for the right conditions to sail across the Channel to England. The weather cleared. He seized his chance. "250 miles north, Harold had defeated the Vikings. Now, hearing of William's arrival, his army sped south. At 9 o'clock in the morning, on this hill, William's Norman army were ready to do battle with Harold's Anglo-Saxon men. The stage was set, and up for grabs, England itself.
Loading screen. Loading in progress. Loading screen. Loading in progress. Play button.
On October 14th, 1066, William of Normandy stood ready for battle at the base of a hill. The high ground belonged to King Harold of England, and his Anglo-Saxon army. Here, on this hilltop, the fate of England would be decided.
Donetsk nuevos atis.
Cavalarios parats. Si, Scara formata.
Obéir, c'est vertu.
Bene audite.
William's Norman army made the first charge, launching a direct assault on the shield wall. Though William's army fought fiercely against the shield wall, it would not yield. As one man fell, another took his place. Overlapping shields in tight formation made for a near impenetrable barrier. Realizing his army could not break the shield wall, William called for a retreat. He aimed to lure the Anglo-Saxons into a false sense of victory, causing them to break formation. William's feigned retreat was working. The Anglo-Saxon army broke their shield wall formation, leaving gaps for William to make a move. With Harold's men no longer in shield wall formation, William could pick them off as they charged.
Cavalarios parats. Cito.
More Norman men-at-arms reinforced William's army. The Anglo-Saxons had deployed rows of spearmen to push back the invaders. But William had an answer. His sharp-eyed archers.
Je prie vos obéir. Je suis votre serveuse. C'est comme vos membres.
Préparez. Promesse faite en volant. Nintendo.
Oh non. Oui, immédiatement. Oui, j'ai vu.
Additional Norman archers joined the battle.
Obéir sans votre service. Donetsk, on destruye Limegne. Chef. Ouais, Syrie. Incontinent. Con vostro servizio. Donetsk, nuevos atis.
Allons-y. In avant, servientes.
Obéir, c'est vertu.
Anglo-Saxon archers joined the fray. and the Normans' deadly cavalry ready to charge. But first, William's forces had to eliminate the enemy spearmen, whose sturdy polearms could easily bring down a horse.
Oh non, laisse tomber.
Arrêtez, arquer.
Ambulance.
Momente sì, arquer, seguita.
Je prie vos sauver.
With the threat of spearmen cleared from the field, William's cavalry was free to charge at the Anglo-Saxon archers.
Donetsk, mouez vos affiches.
The Anglo-Saxon army was in disarray. Their shield wall had been neutralized and their numbers were dwindling. Now the only thing standing between William and victory was King Harold himself.
Quel mangas, sì. Odite, in avanti.
More Norman cavalrymen took to the field.
Arrêtez, arquer, in avanti, arquer.
Oh non, laisse tomber.
The last of Harold's men encircled their king, prepared to lay down their lives to save his.
Obéir son armée.
Momente sì, arquer.
Je suis votre serveur.
Parat. A calque, cavalari. Cavalarius, in avanti. Preparate, arquer.
Je prie vos sauver.
The Anglo-Saxon King Harold had fallen. In the confusion, some loyal soldiers fought to the death, while others scattered in panic.
Cavalarius, parat.
Leaderless and defeated, the last of the Anglo-Saxon army fled for their lives. The Normans celebrated victory over the English king, but William's quest to rule England was just beginning. At the Battle of Hastings, the death of one man changed the course of history. The Anglo-Saxon King Harold was killed here, on England's south coast. His army defeated by William of Normandy. Anglo-Saxon rule was over forever. At Westminster Abbey on Christmas Day 1066, William was crowned the first Norman King of England. Now he had to secure power across the country. He began by stamping his mark on the landscape, building cathedrals and castles at strategic locations. Nothing like them had been seen in England before. They reminded the Anglo-Saxon population exactly who was in charge. But not all were content with living under Norman rule. Anglo-Saxon revolts broke out across the country. King William acted quickly to crush these rebellions. But there was one region where dissent was spiraling out of control: the north of England. In 1069, a group of lords from Northumbria formed an alliance with Viking invaders. Together they approached Norman-held York, a large city with an important cathedral, still protected by ancient Roman walls. But the walls couldn't save York. The city and the castle fell to the rebels. William's new kingdom was under threat. He had to get the city back under Norman control. William had no choice but to order his men north. But as the Norman forces set off on their long march towards York, how much resistance from the rebels would they encounter?
Disconnected. Please note that loading screen. Loading in progress.